like that. And it's like, wow, dude. But the eyeball hanging out and then you pop it back in. That's gnarly, dude. Back with the Triple Threat Wrestling Podcast. We've all seen the worst injuries in wrestling history. We've seen a lot that made us scream moments. We are here to break down the gnarliest injuries in wrestling history, in our opinion. And if you want to shout out in your comments what you think is some of the gnarliest ones, please do that. But MVP, ready to dig into this or what?
Absolutely.
You know what? I'm going to let you go first since you're Chicago boy.
All right. My number one, going to WCW, Sid Vicious snaps his leg like a twig.
Yeah.
Just remember, it's a move where he's standing on the second rope to deliver a big boot. He jumps off, delivers the big boot, but upon landing, and he's just on the floor, leg broken, and was it Scott Steiner just beating the crap out of him? Like, dude, my leg's broken. My leg's broken.
Like, can you see it dangling? It's literally like...
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? I saw it live on pay-per-view. Oh, my goodness. I'm just like, what did I see? And you see the leg there. It's kind of stringy. It's kind of still dangling, even on the ground.
You know what's funny is I remember watching that live. So that's about what, 2000, right? I'm like 13. We're like 13, right? About that age. Because it was before WCW went out of business. So 2000.
Yeah. All right, we'll go 2000. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like 13, right? And I'm seeing that happen, and I'm like, man, they made that look so real. How they do that?
No, but I mean, it got to the point where, yeah, it's broke. He's on the floor. They're not doing anything. He's just punching him in the face, and he's just like, ah. I don't know. It
was gnarly.
Gnarly.
That's what we're doing. Gnarliest injuries.
So. 2 words. Gnarly.
Gnarly. Then you want to go gnarly? We'll do 2 gnarlies on that one. Number 1, New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's in the 80s. Stan Hansen. Vader, in the beginning, it was a bull rope match. And Stan Hansen's like whipping around the bull rope, and it hits Vader in the nose and breaks his nose. So he's already like set off that this is happening. As the match goes on, he gets hit so hard by Stan Hansen that he said after a couple more movements, all he felt was his eyeball on his cheek. And he had to, like, him and the referee put it back in the socket. And you just see this thing is swollen and closed. And he finishes the match like that. And it's like, wow, dude. But the eyeball hanging out and then you pop it back in. That's gnarly, dude. To finish the match, if I poke my eye, I'm done for the night. He got his shit rocked. It's socked out. So, yeah, that's my number 1.
Wow. Gnarly. Number 2. I'm going to have to go with something that happened recently. Cody Rhodes' torn pec. Now, he didn't suffer this injury in ring, and one would argue that this wasn't, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, grand scheme of injuries that's happened in sports or in wrestling, this isn't even that bad of an injury, but the presentation was gnarly. Like, he takes off the jacket inside Hell in a Cell. He's bruised. This whole section right here is bruised.
Yeah,
and he wrestles a full match, start to finish, with essentially one arm.
A Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah.
To boot. Like, wow.
And, you know, it's Seth freaking Rollins. So, he's not just going to, you know, just ignore the fact that he's fighting half an opponent. He's digging into that injury. He's with the kendo stick in that, Cody had to be in enormous amount of pain for that, and you know, respect to him. If it was me, I'd probably pass out.
Yeah, no, there's no way. My number two. So injuries can be gnarly.
Mhm.
I don't think it gets any more gnarly than it being fatal. Owen Hart dies in the ring.
Okay.
So injury he sustained was a lot of neck and head injury, but falling from the ceiling at Over the Edge, 1999, 98.
Yeah.
And that's now shout out to the camera guy for not putting the audience at home where they watched it. He had the quick thing to turn that camera away, so not much footage out there of him doing that, but it's just, I don't think you get any more gnarly than dying in the ring,
Yeah.
So that's got to be my number.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so gnarly that there's no official footage of it, and people that have like footage of it, it's very few and far between, and all the stuff that has been released, it's really hard to see. So,
Yeah.
number three, and this happened twice. Triple H tearing his quad.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Now, the first time it happened, it was he teamed with Stone Cold Steve Austin to face uh, Chris Benoit, and Chris Jericho, Crisp, and Chris Jericho, and Jericho had Austin in the walls, and then Triple H tapped him on the head, but in the process planted his leg, and you can see it on the camera, the whole rupture of the quadriceps tendon. Boom. And to his credit, he took a Walls of Jericho. You okay over there?
Yeah, I gotta charge the damn laptop. Of course, I forgot that one important thing. Keep going, I hear you.
Yeah, he took the Walls of Jericho on the announce table, torn quad and all.
Yeah, that was gnarly because didn't he finish up what he was doing till he finished the end of the match?
Yeah, both times he finished. So the second time, it was with Shawn Michaels as DX versus Rated RKO, and so he did his double A spine buster, and while he was rotating, he planted his foot again and tore the other quad.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. They were trying to salvage this match, but torn quad. Essentially, you can't stand. And he took like I'd say the second most horrible RKO ever. First being against Chris Jericho, where Randy just totally misses and just he misses it. But yeah, RKO off his knees essentially. But I do remember. So I guess adrenaline kicked in, and then he was able to stand on the leg, and DX ended up cleaning house um, at the end of the match. But Triple H would then be out for months.
Yeah, no, he was out for a long time.
Yep.
Right, like 7 months or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no. So that was number three, right?
Yeah, that was number three.
Okay, so my number three, Eddie Guerrero, Judgment Day 2004 against JBL. There's a spot where he has to blade, right? He has to show color, as the wrestlers would say, and cut a little oddly in a wrong spot, nicked an artery, and just bled profusely.
Yep.
Everywhere. Finishes the match, right? But he has to get a blood transfusion at the hospital after that. And JBL said, like, for 3 weeks after that, he just wasn't right. Like, he was just so weak. that it's like, dude, nicking an artery could be like death. Like
Dude,
you will bleed out.
like
So
all your blood. You
yeah,
have no blood left. All your blood.
Yeah. So it definitely looked gnarly because you just see there's blood everywhere.
There's color, and then there's what he did.
Yeah, and it made it worse because JBL also bled during the match. So he's got both guys just bleeding everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I thought it was ECW for a minute. But yeah, that's my number 3.
All right. Number 4. Sabu breaks his neck in ECW. So this is in a match against Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
Chris Benoit. He goes for a back body drop. And I guess Sabu wants to make it all fancy and rotate in the air. He ends up not completing the flip and then just lands on his head. He breaks his neck, and a man gets his nickname, the Canadian Crippler.
The Canadian Crippler, Crisp Benoit. I totally just said his name. But real quick, so we're halfway through the list, right? So if you're sticking with us, hopefully you like the content. Make sure you like and subscribe. We bring you content every week. So going in now, I'm number 4. We're going to Germany. Let's go long distance to Germany. Mick Foley is fighting Vader, so Vader's on my list twice. Mick Foley does his hangman spot where he gets like caught up in the ropes, right?
Yeah,
but the ropes are so tight, that he has to like get himself out, and when he does it, severs his ear.
Oh,
I can't believe you didn't bring this up. I'm really surprised you didn't hit on this one.
Yeah.
Severs his ear, and it's just dangling there. It's just hanging. They continue the match because Mick Foley clearly doesn't know when to quit. And Vader's giving him some forearm shots, and he hits him one time that the rest of the ear just flies onto the floor. Then he had to go to the hospital, seek medical attention. But if anyone's ever wondering why Mick Foley ain't got a whole ear there, that's why. Big Van Vader and him had that match. So that's my number 4. And that was gnarly, dude. I mean, you lost an ear.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Wonder what happened to his ear. Someone pick it up and pocket his ear.
Yeah, you're gonna see it on eBay next year. Mick
Foley's ear, one of one.
One of 2, actually. The other one's still there.
All right,
yeah, that's my number 4.
All right, my number 5. I got Randy Orton breaks his collarbone. Now, again, in the grand scheme of things, very mild injury. I mean, he's still out for months, but you're not ending your career on a broken collarbone. It's in a match against Triple H. He's going for an RKO. Triple H reverses and sends him flying over the top rope onto the floor. Now, when Randy Orton falls to the floor, you hear just a big thump. And he just, he grabs his shoulder. He's like, I broke my collarbone. And when he removes his hand, you can see it kind of sticking out, like poking through the skin. And it's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, I remember that happening, and it's like, because then you essentially lose motor function in that whole arm. You know, you can't really do much. But yeah, no, that's a good number 5. My number 5, just because of the nature of it, it isn't bloody or gruesome, but gnarly because Owen Hart pile drives Stone Cold Steve Austin, and there's this no protection, and Stone Cold's neck just collapses and he breaks his neck. Temporarily kind of paralyzed, still rolls up Owen Hart for the pin, but man, it can't get any more gnarly than you break your neck, and that almost ends your whole career, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But good looking that he pulled through and all that. But that could have been way worse than it was. I mean, it's still bad, but it could have been worse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, normally a stomach-to-stomach pile driver, the deliverer lands on his knees to deliver it. This time he landed on his butt, and his head poking through. It's not good.
Yeah, for sure. So, how about honorable mentions? Do you have a couple?
Yeah. Um, I got one from Mexico. This happens somewhat recently. Rey Mysterio, WWE Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio, against Paraguayo Jr. I think it was a tag match, if I'm not mistaken. Well, that setup drop kick that Rey Mysterio uses before he does the 619, he used it on Pero, and I guess he suffered backlash from it because um, he got paralyzed and died. Rey Mysterio went for a 619, and he just did not respond at all. He was just hanging from that second rope like nothing happened, and they were trying to wake him up. They're seeing what's wrong. They were getting no response from him. He was out, and just turns out he passed. He passed away in that match, and professional like Rey Mysterio. Uh, I'm sure he's still feeling for it to this day. Here they were friends. So, but yeah, everyone, most everybody will say, have glaring remarks to say about Rey Mysterio, and to have this on his, you know, on his record, it kind of sucks. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that can mess with your psyche too, because then you don't want to.
mhm.
You second guess doing things in the ring, and luckily it doesn't seem like that's the issue. But um, that can mess you up, dude. Especially when like you're
Yeah.
kind of there when it happened. Like that's rough. But
Hmm.
what else you got?
Okay, I have Japan Hayabusa. He's going for a move that's reminiscent of Chris Jericho's Lion Salt. So he hits the second rope. His foot slips, but he's still trying to do that backflip. Doesn't get as much air needed, and he can't complete the backflip and just lands on his head. And he's just laying there he can't move. He's paralyzed, and that ended a great Japanese high flyer's career.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I have and there's numerous guys. Anyone who's taken the Styles Clash wrong. Um, AJ Styles has said in interviews that when he's teaching somebody how to take the Styles Clash, he tells them, "Don't do anything." Now, when you're upside down the way he holds you for a Styles Clash, I guess your survival instinct is to crunch up, move your head forward. You don't want to do that during this move because he will crush you, and you'll probably break your neck because he's gonna land. You're gonna land on your head and your neck, and it's not gonna look good. But if you don't do anything, you're gonna land soundly. But unfortunately, this has happened to numerous people. I want to say in Japan, it's happened a bunch, and it's horrible because AJ Styles is such a great worker. You hardly see any, or you don't see anybody that says anything bad about him either. Um, and when he signed with WWE, it was kind of debated whether or not he'd be able to use the Styles Clash because he's injured so many people with it. But he was able to prove he could make it safe, and there hasn't been an injury since he's been in WWE because of the Styles Clash. Now there was a close call when he did the Styles Clash to the Chinless Wonder, uh, James Ellsworth, because he did that crunch up forward. AJ Styles then had the foresight to release his legs so he wouldn't land and injure him, and that just shows the professional that AJ Styles is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that move is it, and it's funny because you watch on TV, it looks simple, but a lot of things could go wrong during that move. So, yeah, I mean, the guy who does it, I'd listen to him if he's like, "Hey, don't do anything. Copy that. I trust you," especially with someone's resume like that. But
Yeah.
couple, I have a couple honorable mentions. I know me and you kind of agree to disagree, but it still is an injury that happened. Hart gets concussed by Goldberg. Even though he did wrestle, like you said, a little bit after that, but maybe it just took time for that injury to settle in. But it did end a career of the excellent execution. One of the do it, and who knows, he might have had a longer career. Went back to WWE sooner, did some cool stuff, but we'll never know because the cryonic kick that Goldberg hit was a little too damaging. And then Big E when he broke his neck, so he went for that that dive open, just ends his shit. So that was pretty rough, and he's such a great talent that he still hasn't been back yet. He says he's 100%. I'll take that over anything.
Yeah.
I'd rather the guy survive and be good for his family.
Absolutely.
And then we'll end it gnarly. This is gnarly. We'll end it gnarly. Joey Mercury in the ladder match at Armageddon 06. And that ladder came up and just split his nose off. He needed 30 stitches, and he bled everywhere. It was terrible looking. And when you see it in slow motion, you see that ladder just, forget it.
Oh, dude, and then you see the blood just pouring out. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it was pouring. So, and so there are so many injuries that have happened in wrestling history. Go down in the comments, leave yours, any that we left out that you think is more gnarly than the ones we brought up.
Any from the AWA, anything from the territories.
That's true.
Anything our narrow-minded selves have ignored to acknowledge. Bring it all.
All of it. We will learn. So catch us next week. We're going to do fantasy draft. We're going to do a draft, and we're going to plan out shows and try to go up against each other, right? So I think that'll be pretty cool. And then, again, if you like what you see, make sure you like and subscribe. We appreciate the support, and we will see you on the next one.